This man has a four-wheel drive, a £64,000 watch, property in Tenerife, and no visible means of support. He's a major drug dealer, and for the last year he's had a new mate. He didn't know his mate was a World in Action reporter. He does now.
How much money have you made from drugs in recent years, Mr. Hardy?
My name is Donal Maclntyre. I'm a World in Action reporter. In last week's programme, I described how I'd infiltrated the drug gangs of Nottingham. I spent a year living as Tony Hearns, a small-time drug dealer complete with four-wheel drive, mobile phone and all the trimmings. I described how I'd got a job as a bouncer and bought drugs freely from some of the very doormen paid by pubs and clubs to keep drugs out. How drug dealers paid off doormen to be allowed to sell drugs in nightclubs. And how the very man who hired out doormen sold dangerous drugs himself.
If anybody dies,
I was able to do all this because I'd cultivated a friendship with one of the biggest drug dealers in town, the man who supplied many of the dealer doormen. This man, Wayne Hardy. Tonight, World in Action takes you inside the world of a major drugs dealer.
It's Wayne's town, it ain't my town. It's a lot more Wayne's town. I'm nobody compared to Wayne. I'm a little piece of in Manchester. There's too many guns about. That's what's mate. Around here, your hard men are still running it. There is a lot of guns about, yeah, and they can use them. They don't have to. The hard men are still running it.
On the face of it, Wayne Hardy's lifestyle appears pretty unremarkable. He lives in this modest family house in one of the less salubrious areas of Nottingham. But there are a few giveaways. The upmarket Discovery he drives, and the radio scanner he carries with him to monitor police wavelengths.
He has a Range Rover Discovery, a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. He recently took a number of his colleagues to America to watch the Bruno fight, and he has quite a large number of trips abroad.
Ivor Pennington, now under protective surveillance, targeted Wayne Hardy.
Has he got any visible means of support at all?
None whatsoever.
Wayne had been my starting point for this whole investigation. Unwittingly, he'd helped me nail the bouncers, but in order to uncover how the whole drug network operated, I had to nail Wayne as well. I spent hours with him training in the gym, cultivating his friendship.
What were they the poses you had to do when you did the competition?
Close like that.
Yeah.
He used to be a competition bodybuilder, and he still works out hard and is ferociously strong. But he's getting some chemical assistance.
He's getting there.
How long does it take it to work?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Because he means surprised you. So do you jab it into your leg?
I did it.
Yeah.
I grabbed a piece of the skin.
Yeah.
Little needle.
Wayne is on steroids.
So I banged with the plate and I was like that. Oh, that's what it went a bomb like that in a week.
In just a few weeks, I'd got closer to Wayne than I would ever have thought possible. We trained together day after day, and the place where I finally began to learn about the real Wayne Hardy was in the locker room.
She'll have a fight with me, you know. She tries. You know what I mean? I broke her finger, you know. I smacked her in the dog, slapped her over that, and she still goes back. Anyway, I've gouged her in the eye.
Wayne had got me my first job as a bouncer, but to be accepted as one of the boys, I had to prove myself. I went boxing with some of them, and on one occasion had to show them I was even prepared to step into the ring. With a contender for the British heavyweight title, who happened to train in the same gym. Through boxing, I gained the trust of this man, Lee Tomlinson, head doorman at Beetroot, Nottingham's nightclub of the year. Lee is a lifelong friend of Wayne Hardy.
So yourself and Wayne go back a long way, have you?
Yeah, some fun we have, me and Wayne. Some right fun. We used to wake up Sheffield together, that's where we first met. Yeah, I know, it's clever, isn't it? It's clever Wayne is. Right, so, you know Dean, his brother?
Yeah, I know him to see.
His mum and dad have got pictures of them two all over their eyes, in black and white, like gangster. And she's got like, you know, skull face in black and white, and, you know what I mean?
Lee was the first doorman to talk to me about Wayne's main line of business.
This man is really strong, really pure. It is more or less. A few dabs, that's all you need. It's plenty of everything.
Excellent. Good source. The best.
Yeah.
Wayne. You sorted it out. Excellent.
Hearing it from bouncers was one thing, but I needed more than that. I needed to hear it from Wayne himself. How was I going to find out more about his life as a dealer?
There was only one way. I had to become a drug dealer myself. I had to get Wayne to be able to trust me enough to talk about things that could get him locked away for a long, long time. I not only had to become his friend, I had to become his mate.
In the centre of Nottingham is a bar called Bellamy's. On paper, you will find nothing to connect it to Wayne Hardy. But he drinks there every weekend, and when he's there, he acts as though he owns the place. And so does everyone else, for that matter. I used to join him there for a drink.
You've got respect in this town, you see.
That's right, yeah.
You've got respect.
That's a lot of, that's why, if you leave this town, and all you lose all that, don't you?
Nobody's going to mess with Wayne in this town.
No. I'm not an evil man.
It wasn't long before we were the best of friends.
That suits everybody right, you know what I mean? I like philosophy and pyramids and, you know, I'm into all that you know what I mean? I've been reading, you know, Nostradamus.
Who's that? That's prophecy.
That's right. Oh, Donal. It's frightening, mate, you ought to read it.
One weekend, I brought someone else along. I introduced him as Billy the Kid, from Stafford. We spent a couple of hours talking boxing with Wayne, then Billy went off. A few days later, in the gym, I picked my moment.
But he gave me the buzz. He's got some, it's quiet in here, but he's got some, fast stuff lying around for the base.
I told Wayne that Billy was a dealer, and that I was his courier who moved his drugs around the country. In Wayne's mind, all the little clues I'd planted over months began to fall into place. The motor, loads of money, but no job, and of course, Billy the Kid. I told him Billy had a kilo of base amphetamine to get rid of. Base is pure amphetamine. It can be diluted many times before being sold. Was Wayne interested?
I'll ask the lads, but I know they're paying around 4 1/4 for it. That's what, that's what it's going at, you know. It is.
Well, anyway, we're right. Okay, we'll have a chat at the weekend about doing my plan.
But it all depends how good it is, you know. How many is making out of it, do you know?
10.
Getting 10 out of it?
Yeah.
It's getting 10 out of it, it's worth that.
Yeah.
Then to get a little bit, if you can get a sample of it, you know, see how many they can make out of it. And if he's making that money, then it's worth it.
I was amazed at how openly Wayne talked to me about drugs, but then everybody who knew him knew what he was into. So how could he operate so freely, and why wasn't he being arrested?
Where you have Mr. Big, they sit at the top of the organisation. It is desperately difficult to get the evidence against those people, because they've learned through time, they have a hands-off approach. It's very difficult to put their hands onto the drugs. It's very difficult to put them at the drug supply chain.
Wayne had taken the bait. The problem was, I didn't have any speed to sell him. But Wayne solved that problem for me. He suddenly left town for a couple of weeks. And when he came back, I had my excuses ready.
So he had the, well, actually, I had the gear and had the K in town last week, but I couldn't contact you, so I didn't want to hang around for too long, so I took it back. So he got rid of it.
If you get some no tone, I've got people that want it now.
Yeah,
I've been on to them and I can get rid of it.
Yeah.
Then, just as I was pondering my next move, Wayne took the initiative.
Pop and see Billy tonight. See if you get a sample off him. Pop and see Billy. He just come back from just come back from Amsterdam. Yeah, I'll see if he gets some chai. I'm not sure what kind of spot he is. Depends on what he does. I mean, if you
Is it the right price?
Yeah.
Do you know how much it is?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I'm sure it's just something nice, isn't it, for everybody, yeah.
Wayne wanted Charlie, the street name for cocaine, and he wanted serious quantities. I told him I'd see what I could do. It was a perfect opportunity to see how a big player would conduct a drugs deal. When I spoke to him again, I told him I could get a kilo of cocaine from Billy the Kid. Wayne was delighted, but he wasn't going to get involved himself. He told me to deal with one of his old and trusted friends, the man I met at Beetroot nightclub and had been boxing with, a man already twice convicted of drugs dealing, Lee Tomlinson. So basically, okay, there's two things. Okay, it's like, it's as per before. It says Billy's got 2k, 1k he's allocated to me, which I can get rid of, right? Yeah. You know, of pure Charlie. Yeah. And so find a price for me, and then we can organise details. But I'll be able to get a sample with him sometime of next. I figure I'll be able to 2 weeks time span, right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks time
Right, I'll
span.
tell him. Yeah, and I'll tell him to get his. To get him to give you a call as well.
This was Wayne's way of making sure he would not be caught. Only Lee would be involved in the actual deal. And even if Lee got arrested again, there would be nothing to connect him to Wayne Hardy.
The major player at the top has a large number of dealers which form a barrier between him and the investigation side of the police. It does afford quite a considerable amount of protection. It allows him to be certainly stay hands-off from an operational point of view, and the remainder of the team are far more exposed. They're the people who have to go to prison.
It wasn't always as simple as that. 4 years earlier, Wayne had made a crucial mistake and paid for it with a spell in prison. I heard all about it from fellow bouncer Scott Woods.
The thing is, you see, right, you get your man, right, let's see, you've got your main man, right, you've got his man who deals, is like #1 guy, then he's got a couple of lads, right, well these couple of lads down here get done, so now his right-hand man has got to go out and do it himself. This gets done, so the main man gets a phone call that's worth 10 grand to him. Does he say no because I'm not touching this stuff, or does he take the stuff? And that's how Wayne got done last time. He said, yeah, okay, and he went for the deal, and that's how he got caught. Because up to then, he didn't touch it. But all his men, the police have slowly got him. They're all in nick. The only one left was him. He didn't have no one to do his run for him. No one that he trusted enough to do his run for him. It's a lot of money. He went and did it. And that's how he got caught.
Wayne's brush with the law had taught him another painful lesson. The police had managed to trace £120,000 of drug earnings. He was ordered to hand it over but refused. In the end, he paid up just £12,000, so his sentence was increased.
Wayne was making some very good money out of it. Wayne lost 2-3 years of his life. Was it worth it?
Well, choice of that extra year in prison.
Wayne is the only one I know who has made money out of it and spent it wisely. Only one I know. You know what I mean? Fair play to him.
Well, how do you hide your money? I mean, everybody's all over your money.
Yeah, well, he's got his little thing here, little thing there. You know, it's no problem. He'll sort it. He's still very well off. He's saved his money. He's done his time, like, and he's still got a few things going, like, which is the only one I know.
If Wayne was arrested now, police would find little, if anything, on paper to link him to assets which they could confiscate. He boasts of shares in pubs and nightclubs and properties abroad, but nothing is in his name. To see how our drug deal would unfold, I had to be able to take it further. This meant I had to get a sample of cocaine. As it happened, I knew a man who could help. This is the Wilford pub. It's only been open a few weeks after a major refit and a change of name. It used to be the Three Bridges and was a notorious drugs den until the police secretly filmed drug dealing, raided the pub and closed it down a year ago. The new owner wanted the dealers kept out, so on the door he put a man with specialised knowledge. A man he thought was a reformed drug dealer. This man, Simon Morley. But this reformed dealer was the very man we had already bought cocaine from outside a Nottingham nightclub. And just 3 days after the Wilford reopened, Simon and his chums were already doing business themselves.
Well, I took about 10 and pounded them up, and I gave all the lads, you know, I just said, lads, 3 lines, making lines up, just got lads snort it, got them all over
Like, a minute later, it was... Yeah, it's just for the business. Everyone thought they did like 10 lines of coke. It's that strong in it, it's like, you are. What's going on? What's going on?
What I want to have a word with you about tonight was, if I could get half an ounce, 14 grams of pure, right? So I can off the block, right? So I can cut it myself, right? Okay. Now if I can do that, then I'm going to clean up, right? Now there's a bit of meat in the bone there for you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So what can you do me for? No, it has to be pure now. You know.
Right.
What can you do me for half an ounce?
What I'll do. I won't see my friend till tomorrow, you see.
No problems.
But I can phone you and say, yeah, that car what you wanted.
Yeah.
Is, you know.
That's the lingo. Okay. Okay. Now what do you think it's going to cost me?
That stuff like that is about 1,200 quid.
And how soon will it be after that? Do you think they'll deliver?
If it's about, I'll be able to get it you tomorrow.
And sure enough, next day, a nervous delivery boy arrived with the goods.
Come on. You will. Okay.
Alright, that's straightforward then, isn't it?
Yeah, no problems. Just want to count that, mate.
Yeah.
Do you want to count it because it's 300 there?
I'll just leave it then.
Now I was dealing with people at the other end of the spectrum from Wayne. This young man was risking a heavy prison sentence to earn next to nothing.
Okay, you know the story.
I don't want to talk anything at all, you know what I mean? Because all I am is a runner, you know what I mean? I just drop off when I get 20 quid, you know what I mean?
No,
you know the score, man.
Take care, pal.
Cheers, man.
Be good.
Cheers, mate.
It was a far cry from the likes of Wayne, who use others to make sure they don't get caught, and who play for much bigger stakes.
Oh, is that the real thing? 64,000 quid that was.
Now I had the cocaine sample to give to Wayne, but what would happen after that? I had little idea how to go about setting up a big drugs deal. I needed expert advice. Fortunately, I knew just the man, a man well versed in the art of drug dealing, my old friend, Scott Woods.
If it's Wayne who's doing your deal, he comes up with his man, right? His man's got the drugs. Wayne goes up, 2 separate cars, right? This other man comes down with his man, right? One's got the money, the other one's got the car. Wayne and this man meet, the money's exchanged. His man goes to the other man, picks up the gear, takes the gear off. You know what I mean? So the drugs and money then do not meet again. They're in 2 separate cars. It's a lot harder to stop 2 cars when it is 1.
But first I had to deliver the sample. I took it to Lee at Beetroot.
Come on!
You're doing alright? What I'll do is, you get me the sample, I'll take you straight in.
Okay.
You got a sample? Yeah. I'll take it around Wayne's tomorrow.
So if you can have a word with Wayne and see what he would give me, right? I'm not too sure where he wants to do the deal, but our guy's pretty kosher, you know, we can sort something out. We'll have a chat to them next week, you know.
No problem, alright? Yeah, I'll get it over to Wayne.
Okay.
And then a funny thing happened. I heard nothing for almost 3 weeks. Lee wouldn't even return my calls.
There's no one to take the call at the moment, so leave your name and number and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Bye-bye.
This was an odd way to conduct a drugs deal, so I went looking for Lee to find out what was going on.
Hop in.
Nice, isn't it?
Do you like it?
Yeah,
it's alright.
Yeah, lovely, mate.
Excellent. Anyway, what's the word in our man?
Bad news, Tony. I got your message out and called you because I wanted to see you. You left that night, drove back home, driving back towards Ilkeston, cop car comes out, followed me. I threw it out window, mate. I had no choice, Tony. You know what I mean? Because of my record, you know what I mean? I didn't get searched. Come to fall it. After I got searched, I went back to the spot on Trollmore and I looked nearly all night and I could not find it.
Okay.
What can I say?
Okay.
Gutted about it, mate.
I didn't believe a word of it. He had either sold it or snorted it. Working through Lee was getting me nowhere. I had to talk to Wayne himself.
Well, have you been in contact with Wayne? Have you seen the man?
No, he's in Tenerife.
He's in Tenerife.
As it happens anyway.
Okay.
So...
Do you know when he's going to be back?
Yeah, he's back a week on Thursday.
As soon as Wayne arrived back from Tenerife, I arranged to bump into him.
Are you well? Good to see you.
My buddy Billy, who you met, right? He's got a K of Charlie running around, and what I'd like to do is to bloody get rid of it. Take my cut. I've got a sample running around which I can get. I can either give it to Lee, Charlie. I can either give it to Lee or I can give it to somebody else. Now I've no problems. He just seemed a bit. He chucked it out the window. Well, you know, depends. You take a sample. I mean, I don't know how good. It's good stuff.
Well, he must have an idea.
Well, 28 is what he's talking.
28. And it's over here at 28. Can't be any good. Can't be any good for that.
So there it was. Wayne was in the market for cocaine, but only if it was top quality. Mine simply wasn't good enough. But we had seen the inside story of drug dealing, from the terrified courier earning £20 through to the man with the £64,000 watch. We had negotiated with Wayne and his henchmen to the point of a substantial deal, but the price wasn't right. Wayne, though, had other fish to fry. This was the scene outside Wayne's house only 2 days later. A man arrives with a bulky shoulder bag. They sit in Wayne's discovery while Wayne counts a pile of money. Wayne makes a phone call. The man departs, his bag empty. The deal has been done.
Routine police methods will never catch people like Wayne Hardy. Covert techniques, very sophisticated surveillance, masses of resources, both financial and personnel. And that is the sort of operation that you're looking at to actually make a successful arrest and conviction for Wayne Hardy.
So basically, if the likes of Wayne Hardy are to be taken out of circulation, society has to decide to spend a lot of money doing it.
Without doubt, a considerable amount of money.
Youngsters are being taken into this criminal culture when they see these people who they see as role models. They see the high-powered car, they see the clothes that they wear, they see the lavish lifestyle, the ability to travel to faraway countries, to lay in the sun during the winter. The youngsters see that as something that they should aspire to. That's a desperate situation when they're viewed as role models.
In the end, society has to decide. Are we prepared to pay what it takes to lock up the likes of Wayne Hardy, or are we content just to sweep up the small fry and leave him free to flaunt his wealth? The more I saw of Wayne's world, the more I realised that his freedom is an affront to us all. Society may not be able to call Wayne Hardy to account, but perhaps World in Action can try.
I'm from World in Action. We'd like to ask you a number of questions about your drug dealing operations. Isn't it true, Mr. Hardy, that you're one of the biggest drug dealers in the Midlands? Isn't it true, Mr. Hardy, that you bring in the drugs and your doormen sell them? Mr. Hardy, how much money have you made from drugs in recent years, Mr. Hardy? Mr. Hardy, in 1992, you admitted to drug earnings of over £100,000. Mr. Hardy, how much have you earned this year, Mr. Hardy? How have you been able to finance your lavish lifestyle on the back of no legitimate earnings? How much have you earned? Mr. Hardy, where do you launder your money? Mr. Hardy? And how much have you earned in recent years, Mr. Hardy? Where have you hidden your money, Mr. Hardy? Mr. Hardy, we've been filming you for several months now, and we have ample evidence that you're a major drugs trafficker. Mr. Hardy, just a number of questions to ask you, Mr. Hardy. How much money have you earned, Mr. Hardy, in recent months, Mr. Hardy?
Next Monday at 8, Sandy Gall travels to Afghanistan for World in Action. In a moment on ITV, more private investigations. Clive Owen returns in a new series of Sharman, while over on 4, The Real Holiday Show.